Welcome back to the Maximum Lawyer Podcast. I'm Jim Hacking.
And I'm Tyson Mutrux. What's up, Jimmy?
Good morning, Tyson. I just got back from vacation. It's good to chat with you. We haven't recorded an episode in a while, and we're recording 2 this week. We have Bob Berg on tomorrow, so that'll be exciting. How you been?
I was adjusting my microphone. I'm doing well. I sort of teased you before. I gave you a little tease as to something I got, and I want to talk about it. I am channeling my inner. I can't even think of the guy's name. Jesus, now out in North Carolina.
Paul Yokobitis?
No. The automation guy. Family law guy. I can't even.
Lee Rosen.
Lee Rosen. Jeez, I had a blank. I'm channeling my inner Lee Rosen, and I bought a Works Landroid, wait for it, robotic lawnmower. And it mowed my lawn last night. How awesome is that?
How did it do?
It does really well. It cuts with little razor blades, and it cuts off a little bit at a time. So it mows one day on, one day off, one day on, one day off. You can do whatever way you want to do it, but it is awesome. It was sort of a pain to set it up, but now it's set up, I can fire the lawn people, and it's the lawn is cut by itself.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
well, do you want to go ahead and introduce our guest for today?
Yes, absolutely. So we have Daniel Marcos on. He's the co-founder and CEO of the Growth Institute. And I'm going to read, I don't normally do this, Daniel, but I'm going to read your actual bio. As a serial entrepreneur, Daniel quickly realized that CEOs are often the bottleneck of the company, Jim Hacking especially, and me. In the same way that you can't solve a problem without first elevating your mindset, a business can't evolve beyond what the CEO can handle. Daniel is on a mission to give executives the support and methodologies that he wishes he had in his entrepreneurial journey, being a good leader, successfully scaling companies, and maintaining a high quality of life. Good morning, Daniel.
How are you guys?
Good. How are you?
Excellent.
Good. Super excited to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
We're excited to have you.
Daniel, tell us a little bit about how you got started with Gazelles, with the Growth Institute, and sort of your origin story.
So I was born in Monterrey, Mexico. I grew up in Mexico City, and I was the typical kid that sold everything in the school. I was even called to the office because I was making money in the school. I sold T-shirts, I sold cards, I sold everything. Indeed, when I was like 8 or 9, I divided my parents' garage and built an aquarium. And I took people to buy to my aquarium and my garage every day. So I was an entrepreneur. And then I graduated from college, industrial engineering, and went to work for the Mexican government in Hong Kong. My first job was when England gave Hong Kong back to China. It was a really big year for Hong Kong, and there was a lot of World Bank meetings and all that. I was hired to help with the delegation there. And then I came back to Mexico to build my first company, and we built kind of an e-trade for the first trading platform for the Mexican market, and then immediately partnered with people in Argentina and Brazil, and we built the biggest online trading platform for Latin America. We end up growing a company with 1,200 employees, offices in 9 countries. We opened 3 banks, and we built the first platform for financial trading in Latin America, user financial trading. And that just was a great learning experience, really, really fast, very young. So I sold that company when I was 28. It was weird. The internet time just invented, allow young people to learn very, very fast. So that's how it started. And from there, by the way, I hired Vern as my coach. I begin having a lot of growth pains. I began asking who was the best in the world about that. They told me Vern Harnish. I went to meet him at a program in MIT, became good friends. He significantly teach me how to be a CEO. And that helped me with the success we had. And then I became a coach with him, coaching other CEOs. And then the Growth Institute was a way to take the coaching services to a broader way. Just to give an example, a typical coach charges between $60,000, $70,000 and $120,000 a year. We give you very similar services or the content for $2,000 to $3,000 online with coaching calls and everything that we do online. So it's a great way to be able to help smaller firms, giving them a great service and methodologies and content in a price and format that makes sense for them.
Daniel, what I just want to say, what you all do is amazing. I actually have on my desk Scaling Up.
That's a book, yeah.
Yep, it's a great book. We've gone through it as a firm. I think it's fantastic. But so sometimes people, they give us a little bit of pushback on whether or not they need a coach. You know, I know what I need to do. I just need to do it. And you had successful companies. You were doing great, but you still needed a coach, right? You sought out Vern. So what was it like? Why would you say that you needed a coach? You were doing well comparatively. I mean, so why did you need a coach? So
as an example, today I have 3 coaches, by the way. There's 3 things that I need to do, that I want to do and do better. I hired a YouTube coach. I'm trying to take my YouTube to the next level. And I'm not an expert in YouTube. I'm not an expert on messaging. I'm not an expert on all that. And I hired this girl that she's amazing. Her traffic and her views, it's exploding. And she teaches you how to do that. As an example, Friday, we're redoing our winning moves, our 3 to 5 year goals. After COVID, things are changing a lot. Online education is exploding. It's advancing 5 years in 3 weeks or in 3 months. So I hired a Scaling Up coach to help me coach me and my team on how to do it right. I cannot coach myself. And I'll tell you this as the best example. There's another coach in Gazelles that he had some overweight problems. And he's been like kind of fat for many years. And one day I saw him and he had lost all his weight. And I was like, wow, what do you do? And he said, hey, Daniel, I finally follow our formula. I hired a coach and I hired this very beautiful nutritionist that I have to go to her office every week. I agree on a plan and then I follow the plan. And I have to, every Monday, have to go to her office, weigh myself and tell her if I build a plan or follow the plan. And my internally, because I know I'm paying her, I have to go every week, I have to measure myself. I am way more disciplined to get things done. So one is really understanding what's the right food, but also the discipline of doing it. So the coach really helps you do 2 things. First, helps you agree to a plan that makes sense. And I've seen other people, they say, yeah, I read the book and I did this, and they went completely wrong. And I could give some examples of that. So one is to make sure you're doing it right. And the second one is to help you get unstuck. The worst thing that you could do to someone whenever they're doing something is get stuck. Whenever you're losing weight, you lose a lot of weight and then you kind of get stuck and you get like a plateau and people get discouraged and begin eating and then they go up. Whenever you're a coach, same thing happens. They're having great traction. Something happens that they were not expecting. They lose excitement about what they're doing and they just drop it. And the coach is there to help you unstuck and tell you, hey, it's normal after you do this, whatever's going to happen. Oh, okay, that's normal. And then you pass by that. So the coach will allow you to make sure you're doing things right and then get unstuck and keep the momentum and the focus on something.
That's great, Daniel. Getting back to when you first hired Vern, what would you say are the 1 or 2 best lessons that you learned from Vern Harnish? For those of you who don't know, we're talking about Vern Harnish, the author of Scaling Up and many other good books.
So Vern really teach me what is to be a CEO. No one really teaches you to be a CEO. Whenever you're building a company, you never think, oh, I'm going to be a CEO. You think about, hey, what product I'm going to do, what price, who I'm going to sell it, how I'm going to finance it. And then one day you wake up and I was like, wow, I'm a CEO. And no one really teaches you what you have to do as a CEO. And usually you're working in your business, not on your business. And people say, yeah, you have to work on your business. And I was like, yeah, what is that? Well, that is building your long-term vision, understanding your core values, writing your brand promise, like all these things that are really important, but you never spend the time. Vern gave you a model called Scaling Up that obligates you first to write a 1-page strategic plan and obligates you to ask you these questions and really get the right answers. And then it gives you a system and procedure for you to be a CEO. and let me just walk you a little bit on this. So I go to a company and say, hey, show me your systems. And they show me their accounting system and their production system and customer support system and all the systems. And they say, great, show me your CEO system. And they look at me and said, what do you mean? And I was like, yeah. What's your system to be a better CEO? What's your system to take strategy? What's your system to communicate with your team? What's your system to align your team? And everyone rambles. No one has a CEO system. Vern gave us a CEO system. That's why CEOs and leaders of companies love scaling up that much, because it gives us a mental framework to teach us and give us a format to what we have to do. So that's the first thing that Vern taught me. And the second thing that I learned from Vern, once you pass the $1 million mark, you kind of know how to make money. Making money is not a problem. The problem is focusing on the right things and keeping the money. And there's an article that I read recently in Harvard Business Review that said more opportunities die for too much opportunity than for lack of opportunity. You put your hands in too many cookie jars. So Vern said, hey, the most important thing about the CEO when they're scaling is really focusing the team, 3 to 5 priorities, and keeping the one thing, having everyone aligned in what is important. And that's what gets continually reinforced in scaling up.
So Daniel, this is a great segue, because I talked about, the executive level mindset last week in a presentation that I did. And one of the members basically said, and I'm paraphrasing, it's kind of easier said than done. You've got your things you're supposed to focus on every single day, but life happens. And I'm just curious, what would your response be to that?
The best CEOs don't allow life to happen. They just don't accept that. And they're able to keep, and Vern has this saying, he said, the number one thing is to keep the number one thing being the number one thing. So let me give you as an example. One of the most successful companies in the world, Google, right? Whenever you go to google.com, what do you find? A search bar and a search button. That's it. Imagine how many employees of Google want to put their button there, their product there. How difficult is for Google to keep the website completely empty, that it's just the logo that they change, and they change in the search bar. That's it. Like Apple, the first thing Steve Jobs did when he turned Apple around, he came to Apple, did a 2x2, and said, what do? We serve consumers and companies, and we serve them laptops and desktops. Give me the number one laptop we have for consumers. Give me the number one desktop for consumers, the number one laptop for companies, and the number one desktop for companies. Everything else, throw it away. And today, Apple is worth more than $1 trillion, and you could have put all the SKUs of Apple in one table. That's what makes companies successful. That they're able to keep the one thing being the one thing.
So Daniel, picking up on that, we spend a lot of time with our members talking about the importance of niching down, about how, for lawyers who want to practice in multiple practice areas, we find that problematic. And we think that just like Apple, you need to try to be the best in your field. How would you sort of advise us to talk to our lawyer clients about that?
So if you understand the people that make the most money in the world are artists, actors, people like sports people. It's people that train a lot. They are really, 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 really good doing one thing and one thing only. They don't do anything else. Like if you go to baseball, there's a guy that is the best first base player. That's it. He doesn't know how to do anything else. Just play first base. Like Babe Ruth, he was overweight. He ran really slow. But what was Babe Ruth really good at? Home runs. That's it. Nothing else. Like he was good in baseball, in home runs. Like you think that he was good in baseball, he was good throwing and pitching. And no, just one thing. And that's why we pay him the big bucks. So the people that are the best in one thing, even if it's the smallest thing, they get paid the highest. So let's talk about like thought leadership. Vern. What is Vern good at? How to help mid-market companies scale faster. That's it. That's the only thing he does. And he's known worldwide on how to do that correctly. And he gets paid big bucks just to do that. So whenever you talk about niches, hey, what's a niche that I could, it's a niche that is big enough that it's worth it. 2, that I could be the best in the world at, and that I really like. And that's the BHAG. Those are the components of the BHAG. One of the things that we teach at Scaling Up and you have to do on your one-page plan. So the other day I was reading this article about a guy that he's the best in the world to do doors for Catholic churches. That's it. He just do doors for Catholic churches. He's the best in the world. So when whatever city does a cathedral, what door are you going to put? The door of this guy. Like you don't, like if you, how much are you going to spend in building a cathedral or a church, right? Like the door is the minimum thing, but you're going to get the best. That's where people come in, where people take the picture. So this guy is the best in the world to do that. Do you think he's going to have ever any financial problem? Never. Right? So that's what I call niche. The best people in the world, we pay them big bucks because they train a lot and they're the best in doing just one thing and one thing only.
I'm loving this so much, Daniel. This is great. But I have a question because I know that there's probably some people listening right now. They run a law firm. They probably just dealt with a technical issue with computer. They've got a client that's pissed off at them. They've got an employee that wants off tomorrow. So they're thinking about all these different things. And so they're like, well, this doesn't apply to me because I've got to do all these different things. So my question is this. What do you think the CEO, and in this case, it'd be the CEO would be the law firm owner, the person running the firm. Like, what's the one thing that they should be focusing on? Like, what's that one thing for them?
So it really, and sorry, I'm not going to give the right answer, but each one has their own one thing. And the one thing changes depending on trends, who you are, the market, things like that. As an example, today with COVID and everything that is happening, there's a lot of things that are changing dramatically in the world. Let's talk about a really big trend as an example. Globalization. Everything was globalization, and we've been since World War II. Today was everything about globalization. How can I make something and then replicate it all over the world? That end in 2019. We saw a huge trend in nationalism, starting with Trump, with other presidents saying, hey, I'm the president of my country, I'm not about the other one. And now with COVID, you're seeing much more national tourism, you're seeing all of that. So a lot of people had their one thing being international, and now their one thing changed dramatically just because of COVID. So you have to have your one thing being focused in whatever is the right trends. And there's some trends that are continuing, and there's some trends that are changing. You have to go on the right trend. Talking about the Catholic, and I'm going to go a little bit against me on the Catholic Church. How many countries or cities are building cathedrals today? Not very many, very many, right? What's a religion that is growing in the world today? The Muslim religion is the fastest growing religion in the world today. So if I was going to make doors today, I will choose that. This guy is in his 80s today, and he's the legend on Catholic churches. He did great in his life. But if I'm young today, and I'm going to pick a trend, and I'm going to pick something to be the best in the world, and I want to do doors, I'll probably don't choose Catholic doors. I will probably choose doors from Muslim mosque or whatever, right? So you have to understand what are the trends, what are you really good at, and then get your number one thing. get the main thing.
That's a great response. Jimmy, before you ask your question, I'm curious because Jim, you focus on immigration and mostly, I think, with Muslim countries. Did you see that trend coming? Is that why you chose that practice area, Jimmy?
Well, my wife's from Egypt, so that made it sort of easy. And I became a Muslim 25 years ago, so that was just sort of a natural fit. But yeah, definitely with immigration and, you know, right now we have a president who's trying to slow all that stuff down. But getting to my next question for Daniel. Daniel, it looks like you have a book or two behind you.
Yep.
For those of you listening only, you can't see. Daniel has a very impressive 5-level bookshelf that is just filled with books.
There's another one to the right.
I'm sure there is.
Sorry.
I'm sure there is. No, I'm sure there is. Tell us about your philosophy when it comes to finding nuggets in books, or why do you have so many books?
So I realized very early in life that let me go back to one thing and then I'll come back to this. Remember, Malcolm Gladwell gave us the 10,000 hour rule. Malcolm Gladwell read a story that if you do something for 10,000 hours, you become great on doing that. Reality is you have to do 10,000 hours, but have deliberate practice to do it better. I could run 10,000 hours and still run wrong. I need to have a coach that is guiding me on how to do it better. Every problem or opportunity I have in my life, someone already got through that, fixed it or figure out how to do it, and wrote a book or a methodology on how to do it. So today, whenever I have a problem or an opportunity, the first question that I ask is who is the best in the world that already had that and figure out how to do it. And usually that person wrote a book, has a blog, has a podcast where they explain how to fix that. And then I read it or see the course or go to the blog or whatever, and then I have a deliberate practice on how to implement that system and procedure. So that's why I have all these books. And by the way, I probably read 60% of them, but the other ones, I know they're there, and I know where can I find what I need to find. And it's crazy how many times a day I go back to my bookcase and get a book and reread something or go through something that I know it's there, that I'm not an expert on, or I don't know it by heart, and I go and review it. So I really believe books is the cheapest, best way to get into people's mind and getting people to help you solve your things through deliberate practice.
Daniel, I think that's fantastic. For my last question, will you talk about the importance of learning and training your people in your company to make sure that your company grows?
So I'm going to explain this in sales, but it applies to everything, and then I'll go to lawyers. Usually, you get your best sales agent and make them your sales manager. That's a huge mistake. You lose your best agent because now they don't have time to sell, and they're usually a lousy manager because sales is all about them and all about talking. Manager is all about hearing and helping others, right? Jack Daly says the role of the sales manager is not to grow sales, is to grow sales agents in capacity and quantity. If I have 1,000 sales agents greatly trained with all the tools they need, copy, whatever, they will sell a lot for my company. So my role is how can I grow more sales agents in capacity and quantity? Same thing happens in service companies like law firms. Their owner job is not to practice law. It's how can I get more lawyers in my office working for me that they're the best to do that. And if I train them and grow them, they're going to do that. And I would like to close with this story about Henry Ford. I don't know if you remember this, and I read this somewhere. Henry Ford one day was attacked by a reporter that he was a non-intelligent person. And he was sent like to a court or something. I don't remember exactly. But the guy said, I'm going to prove that Henry Ford is a non-intelligent person. And he asked Henry Ford 10 questions. Who wrote the Odyssey, the book. And Henry Ford said, I have no idea. What is the 6 digits of pi? And Henry Ford said, I have no idea. And then asked him these 10 questions. And Henry Ford didn't answer any of the 10 questions. And the guy said, see, this guy is a non-intelligent person. And Henry Ford said, but let me explain for me what's intelligence. And everyone said, okay, like explain what you think. And the guy said, in my office, I have a box with buttons. If I push button number 1, the best engineer of the world comes running to my office. Sir, how can I help you? And if I ask him what are the 6 decimals of pi, he knows them. If I push button number 2, I get the best lawyer in the world. And if I tell him how to do something of law, he tells me how to do it. And if I push button number 3, I get the best accountant in the world and tells me how to finance my projects. So intelligence is to have the best people in the world working for you and running to your office to say, how can I help? If you want to know everything, you're going to stay small. If you figure out how to get everyone working for you being the best, you will be the best because now you have everyone helping you. Same thing is with your team. How can I get the best lawyers, train the best with the best tools to serve my clients? And that's going to grow my firm. And Jim, I saw you moving your hands really happy. Why the reaction?
I was cheering because we have this debate all the time, and I'm one of these people who really, really wants to sort of let other people do the legal work, and I want to sort of grow the firm. And so you're preaching to me, but we get a lot of resistance from people, and I understand there's people who really enjoy practicing law, but if they're going to do that, they still have to find someone to be the CEO if they want to just practice law.
So go to read the E-Myth, the book E-Myth. The E-Myth says that the myth of the entrepreneur is that companies are built by entrepreneurs. No, most of the companies are started and built by technicians. So a lawyer works in a law firm and said, hey, I'm a really good lawyer. I'm going to make my firm. And they go and do their own firm because they want to practice law. And they realize being an owner of a business is not about practicing law. It's about accounting, charging your clients, finding your clients. Like there's a lot of things. And the thing they do the least is practice law. So every business has to have 3 mentalities or mindsets. One is the technical mindset that does the work. One is the administration mindset that makes sure the company is alive and pays taxes and payroll and all that. And then the entrepreneurial mindset that makes it happen, goes out and get clients, packages, all of that. So the most successful entrepreneurs, they know they need to have the 3 mindsets in the company. They choose to do one, and they hire people or partner with people that do the other 3. So if you want to practice law and you're the best lawyer, do not become an entrepreneur on your own and open your law practice. If you want to open your own law practice and you being an owner, great. Partner with an entrepreneur, partner with a manager, and then you're in charge of the law part. But without the other 2, you don't have a law firm.
That's great stuff. All right, we're gonna have to stop it right there. But before I do, I want to remind everyone to go to the Facebook group, get involved there. And if you don't mind taking just a couple seconds while you're listening to the end of this episode to please leave us a 5-star review. Jimmy, what is your hack of the week?
So my hack of the week is that people need to tell their clients' success stories a whole lot better and a whole lot more often. That, as we always talk about with marketing, nobody wants to hear about us as boring old lawyers, but they love to hear stories of transformation. So if you can get in the habit of telling your tribe about the successes of the people that you've worked with, that's going to be your greatest calling card. That, you know, where we're in that book Storyboard, where you're the guide to your client's hero journey. I think that we forget that, but every time I do a marketing piece that is all about my client successes and very little about me, those are always the most well received.
Great advice. All right, Daniel, I want you to give us a tip or hack, but before I do, will you let people know how they can get in touch with you if they want to work with you?
We have all our trainings at growthinstitute.com or scalingup.com. That's Vern's website. But we teach things from Vern, and we have 80 other faculty at Growth Institute. We teach all practical things that mid-market C-level executives need. And I'll also give you my email is daniel@growthinstitute.com. Happy to help anyone. And the program that we have that usually people start with us is called The Edge. And we're helping you and your team go to the edge, talking about being delivered practice. It's the best community that we have to help you and your team go to the edge and start taking better decisions and executing better.
Fantastic. All right. So my tip is actually something that I stole from Jim Hacking. Jim motivated me last week because he was talking about how he had, and it wasn't on the podcast, I think it was in the guild, how he had basically outsourced his email and he has someone checking his email. So I got motivated. I got a little jealous. I got motivated. And so I now have someone that is doing my email. I instantly created a list of rules, and I spent a long time on my list just to make sure I had it right. And I found someone that was perfect on Upwork. She's awesome. She's knocking out of the ballpark. So my tip is to go and have someone take care of your email. Like I'm saving so much time already. It's already worth it. And the goal is to get to inbox 0. And I'm sure when I just said that, a lot of you are like, oh my gosh, that would be so amazing to be at inbox 0. And when I'm there, I will let everyone know because it's going to be a glorious, glorious day.
I love what you say, Tyson. I have an executive assistant living in Querétaro, Mexico. I see her, if lucky, once a year on the Christmas party, and she does all my email. Probably responds 80% of my emails, and she's amazing. It's like you can't imagine how much I adore her because of everything she does, and how great my clients feel. By the way, they call her directly or they email her directly. Hey, I need to have lunch with Daniel or whatever they call with Daniel. They don't even call me. They know she's so great that they just call her directly. It's amazing.
That's awesome. That is so good. And like, before I wrap up, I do want to address something you just said, because you're so right. You are actually, whenever you do this, you are providing better service to your clients because they're getting a response faster. It's not just an email sitting in your inbox without a response. No. They're getting a response right away.
So when you said you did all these rules and training, one of the best things I've done with Mayra is she always writes that, hey, I got this email first than Daniel. I hope you enjoy a fast response. This is what you need. And just gives a solution. And people write and said like, wow, thank you.
That's good.
What's her average speed of responding compared to me?
Me?
Huge.
Oh,
like,
I was like,
your assistant. No. Like, how fast will she respond compared to you?
Right away. Like, we won't. Like, it'll be days probably before I respond.
So we've been in this podcast 40 minutes or 30 minutes. I will guarantee someone already wrote you and she already responded.
Yeah.
You haven't even seen your email.
No, and I don't plan on looking at it till this afternoon.
Correct.
Perfect.
Remember, your inbox, it's full of emergencies or things other people need, not what you need to do. Absolutely. Your important things are not in your inbox.
Focus on the number one thing that you can do, the number one. Daniel, thank you so much. I don't want to take up any more of your time. Thank you so much for coming on. This has been fantastic. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate the invitation. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel.
Jim Tyson, thank you.
Thank you.